Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my stream where I solve my problems with engineering, software engineering in details. And this stream series is about solving a few things here there. I have YouTube channel which requires attention at every morning. So every morning I must do a few things. And it involves a few operations which are fine. I must approve, review, and then upload. But there is a problem. I must do it using a pretty big device. It's my PC itself. But it also requires me to SSH to another server because another server has some resources my PC lacks. And I decided to split responsibilities from my script and let's say make it more interactive rather than I'm thinking in the morning with coffee sitting on bash script trying to do things. What if I will get everything into my mobile device such as my messenger? It will simply pop some buttons. I say, yes, I like this, I don't like this, and generate me that. And then I go to drink my coffee. Right now it happens when I type something in bash console, press enter, wait, and then approval. It takes like 3 different steps. So the problem was defined in the very beginning of the stream series, but there are 3 manual executions of a script, at least 2. One is approval and the second is review itself. And I decided to make it via pipelines and devices I have, and which actually, let me show you the devices. Here they are. So below you can see my PC. Right now it's quite old because it utilizes GPU a lot, so it needs to breathe. So I decided to remove side panels, but on top of it you can see 2 laptops. So let me show you configuration of those laptops. Terminal. And where is terminal? Oh, here it is. If it will respond. Oh, it will. Nice. So this is laptop on top. It's quite old device. It has 4 cores and 8 gigs of memory. It's decent for maintaining some loads, but it's definitely not enough to maintain some AI models, etc. Maybe small models, yes, but something bigger it's not. However, it has something which lacks my PC. It can wake up at any time. There is a battery which needs service, but fine. So it can wake at any time while there is a dongle, a charging port, and it can do things such as cron up, etc. So it can wake up laptop below, it can produce things to the laptop below, and it won't consume a lot of electricity, etc. So that's what I'm utilizing right now. So the project I'm creating, it's about pipelines. Terminal is offline, image no longer needed. So I'm creating pipelines which will get some inputs, produce some outputs, and in the end it will ask me to review its results when it's done, it will upload things to YouTube itself. Maybe it's me who must upload it, because I've seen some quite interesting changes. If I use API to upload video, sometimes it has 10 views. But if I upload videos manually, it has at least 1500 views. It's like 2000 sometimes. In general, it's 1000 plus. But if I use API, maybe I forget something, but okay, no problems. So I'm automating that things, and at last stream I have stopped. It was August 14, yes. So I was stuck in UI, as well as I had no backend, no dummy backend, nothing. So I had created a plan. What must be done to some date, etc. And I was doing the thing, and at this particular stream, I'll review what was done, and maybe we'll code a few more things. So I made UI for the service and its discovery. It's important. So let me okay, I'll read what I've done and then I'll show you. I made a shared storage with some interface which is accessible to backends. Here it is, Firefox. Yes, so I have started that storage, created a bucket here, and my backends, dummy backends with some quite draft architecture. They can upload things, they can read from that storage. That's important because since according to architecture we define somewhere here, where is it? Here. We do not have database. There is right now no need of database. So we have APIs, we have blocks, they are workers themselves. So API, they are in those workers. Workers can discover each other. And all we need is API UI, which is capable to connect to any of those workers and pass them commands. Since all workers are aware of each other, including version, they can handle those inputs. Because if some worker cannot do GPU calculation because it's old laptop with 4 cores, then it will pass it to any other worker which has this feature and block enabled. I also have implemented a thing named feature detection. I think it's in types, blocks. Yes, so I defined backend and worker, as well as some basic interfaces. And for example, there is block which detects if worker is able to do HTTP requests to internet, like if it has connection to outside. And there should be detector, yes. And there is cycle, which has block definition and detectors. For example, HTTP block has some basic HTTP client, which will definitely have some retries later, maybe circuit breakers, it depends. But the way it's checked outside internet, it's just Google.com. I might check any other connection, but that's important. So if we need to create a new block, let's call it block GPU. We might create some GPU detector which will execute some requests to local libraries. Maybe it's NVIDIA library or AMD or whatever. But for now, it's just one block, because I need to define a few things, at least at this particular stream. The plan was to define pipeline configuration. So we have blocks. I have created dummy server, which can execute. I think I can execute it from here. Let's go on data pipelines worker. Make start. It should already start. No, there is a problem. Listen this. It's already in use. Let's check who is. I know who is it. There is Tmux, which has this worker online. And it should start right now. Yes, it started. So I'll show you UI of this thing. Let's go to workers. Right now, there are no workers. It has a report about what kind of blocks available at this particular worker, as well as schema. Input and output, there are some definitions what this particular block is able to do, but I'm wondering, workers, there are empty, there are none workers available except this worker itself. That's awesome, because I have terminal I have the laptop. I think this session. Nice. So there is another worker, but it's quite outdated and should not contain anything useful in there. Let's check what's going on. There is only one worker available, which is okay. What does Windows see? Unfortunately, Windows doesn't see anything, but hello. Yes, there is only one worker for now. Let me restart this binary. It should see two workers already. Why I'm doing this? It's in order to show that this endpoint itself, it yields output. Okay, no problem, because we have another port. I think it was 3000. Yes. So if terminal goodbye. So in here, I made very simple UI, which is connected to one of workers. So when I click it, it shows what is able to do and what's inside, what host, IP address, port, it's HTTP port of the API of that worker. Somehow I do not see the second worker started on second machine, but it is possible that I need simply compile new version. Okay, let's oh wait, it somehow have added itself. Should be there are delays in broadcast, and I'm afraid it will take a while. Okay, no problems with that, because we have created shared storage, the service, the dummy service. So I'll move implementation of that service to I should have done to August 17. Make UI. No. Shared storage access already provided to this binary. So how to say that? Let's here. For example, it's empty, and I will make test unit. There is a test which I made to check the connection to the storage, and it uploads one file. How can I hide it? Yeah. So this file was uploaded today, and it's let's call it integrational test. Unfortunately, it does not delete this file because I decided not to include removal method implementation to this worker. I need those files in order to debug. There are things we need, but is there anything useful? 11 bytes. Yes, there is test text inside. So implementation of the thing, it's done. I'll also move it to done. I made it with mini IO because it's quite straightforward on Mac. You write brew install and then you simply configure it. I tried FTP implementation. It took a while. There were problems with FTP. I tried Samba, it's Windows access. It also has problem in network discovery, but with mini IO it just works. Define worker API contracts. We'll do it later. So today I'll do pipeline configuration. Make UI to save pipeline configuration to extension. So in this particular case, it will sound like define pipeline configuration structure and implement API contracts for configuration handling. So we'll make UI after definition of that contract. So first of all, we have pipelines and blocks. Let me show you. It was in types and block. HTTP block. Yeah, here. So the schema, it's inside of worker, and the schema is quite straightforward. It has input data defined here, input parameters for, in this case, HTTP block, URL to fetch content, some methods, headers. Some services might request input for payload. For example, if you post JSON or you post binary file with some predefined certificates, it depends. There is query for URL, and it is possible that you pass some body like form. So it's also defined here, but it is not a part of pipeline configuration. It's a part of block configuration. So I must define difference between pipeline configuration is not block configuration. What I mean, let's say pipeline configuration, it's about how blocks are arranged. For example, block order block definition. So in my particular case, it will sound like we have HTTP block. By the way, I have already defined that somewhere on top. Yeah, steps. Send HTTP request to OpenAI and save response to file. That is important. So it will be first block. Maybe I'll create it as JSON in order to have some structure to copy paste later. So it will be about pipeline. It's an object itself, which contains some predefined fields such as ID. ID, there are a few ways. It's either UUID or let's call it slug. Video generation. Oh, yes, video generation. Title. I'll increase it. Yeah. What video? Generation pipeline. Good. Description. With YouTube channel. Let's call it that would be correct because I might forget what kind of video generation. Why is it so? Now let's call YT video generation. YT. Yeah, that would be better. What else does it have? According to here, h1 text. That's fine. And then it is important that it has some definition of blocks. And here where order, etc. matters, so it won't be just a mapping, it will be a list of blocks themselves, which can be defined. For example, ID, I think it's called ID. Block HTTP, what's there? Yes, HTTP request. So I'll copy it here. I don't need title, etc. But what I need is settings, what kind of input it has and what kind of output it, where should it store its output. In the document about, I have already done it. Let me check. It should have fetch one text, that's correct, and save it to file which looks like this. So in this case, in my case, it should be input. It's configuration, it's not the block description. This block has input. URL. So let's call it URL. HTTPS OpenAI .com. Let's keep it quite simple. What's important? It's that I must pass prompt in body, and I think it's post request, but I'll need to, let's call it, reverse engineer the library. I think they have described it already. It must be post request. Post. There is headers. And that is, according to schema, it should be an object. Method, it's a string. Headers, it's an object. Oh no, yes, it's an object. So that means content type. I think it's application JSON. Also, they have authorization via token. So it's possible that authorization that I will have to pass some bearer. After that, there was query. I think it was completion. And body. Let's make it body. It was not a string since it's JSON. Let's see what the string object array on all. They had it as object, I remember, because there are messages. That thing is an array of objects which has a role, assistant, content, I think, but I'm not sure. And there are a few other things in here. And it also ends with role user, I think. It should be content. Help me. Let's do it better. Answer. That won't be correct. So it's first block. Then we go to the second block. The second block was step 2. Send message to Telegram for approval. So this is another block which I have not developed yet. The idea is that this particular block will store its results in file system, in shared file system, obviously. It must be located. Oh, nice, I have forgot to hide it. Beautiful. Sorry. It must be located in mini IO storage. And the next block should have access there. So let's call it ID. Send Telegram. Input. That's a place where I haven't been for a while, so what should I pass to that block? First of all, I need to pass account which will receive it. How to name that property? Let's say 2. And that's my Telegram. I think that will be fine. What's important? I need to extract the message. The problem, OpenAI yields not just a message, but a quite big response. And it is in JSON format. So there are a few ways how to solve it. I might introduce another block named extract property because I don't need whole JSON. ID extract property, and it's possible that I need to pass in. Is it in input? And I need to pass what kind of property it is. It was choices zero, I think, message content. Something like that. I'm not sure, but I'll debug it when we'll get a response from OpenAI saved to file itself. Also, it is important to notice that if this block fails, whole pipeline must yield an error. So configuration is not block configuration. Yes. Now I need to send it to Telegram, and it shouldn't be just sent. I remember it should be sent with approval request of buttons. Send response to file, then send message to Telegram for approval. What kind of input it has? Request approve. So, okay. Send to Telegram, it will be just notification, but I need to send it with buttons and request for approval. That means, let's call it for approval. Yes, that would be correct. Then I have account, which will receive it. And what's most important, there must be bot ID or something like that, which means my account in Telegram must be subscribed to that bot. So in here I should yield bot ID. Let's call it YT channel approval. That would be correct. So it will send it here. And after that, what will we have? Fetch approval results from Telegram. Okay, next block. That block must implement feature named backoff, but so it must wait for my response. It should be executed. Also, each block which communicates with anything external must be able to back off, must be able to do retry, except this one. This one is quite straightforward. If there is a property, you do what you do, otherwise you simply yield an error and stop. Because since it's all in file system, I have no problems debugging it. So in here, let's call it ID, fetch approvals, fetch approval from Telegram. And let's do it input. I must yield it bot ID. Then I must yield it some sort of approvals. I mean, in here, I sent it for approval. It should have some message prefix because I might get other videos for approval in another channels. If I start any, it should distinct some messages. So let's call it approve ID or approve suffix or anything. YT And in here channel, it won't be just channel, my channel approval. Let's do it. Or even better, channel ABC. That would be better. So I will not forget. And then here I should say, okay, you must fetch approvals which has this suffix. That looks better. So what next step do I have? This one should have retries. Its output will be in a file system in this format. That's important. So next, text to speech from text. Okay. You know, there were a few problems with text to speech, but I'll write it as is because I don't want to mess that. ID. So text to speech, it's an HTTP request which should pass JSON with text to some endpoint. That endpoint yields a file. I think it's MP3. Yes, it's MP3. So it will be HTTP request, the same as above. But it will have some not completion, but text to speech. I'm making it OpenAI because in some places I use OpenAI, but in some places I use GPU because it's cheaper. In this particular case, it's post, it has the same token, but it has a body, which is the string generated video text content, video text content. They are narrated, but let's ignore that for now. That is HTTP request, which will produce text to speech, which will produce MP3 file. Correct. After that, what we have? Transcription. And after transcription, what do we have? It's content of this thing. Aha. So we have transcription. Transcription, it is also the same request HTTP. It's made to some AI model. Let's call it transcription. It accepts post method, but there is a problem because it's not body as text, but a binary thing. So in this particular case, it won't be application JSON. It will be application octet stream. Or I might ignore it because in here, at least in curl, I can write something like that. F equals, and there is some file MP3. In this particular case, I must somehow define that this body is a file I must get. There are a few ways how to do it. It's either to reuse HTTP request block as it is. Let's check string object array or null. I might also pass file. So at this case, file, it's just a format. Yes, let's do it. But I don't like it. They can be array of files. That's important. So why would I convert this simple block named HTTP if I can create new block named make text to speech? or text-to-speech request, which will involve some URL. It will ignore. In some providers it might have the same, but okay, no problem. What's important, it won't be body, it will be file. And here I can define output from previous worker. So it is possible that I don't need this file because input for this block, it is file from previous block if it's not defined. So that would be better. So let's proceed to the plan itself again. After that, we have generate images according transcription. So that one is quite interesting because if you have big transcription, that means you have at least 3 or 4 different images. The output of block in most cases it's one file, it's not array. Let's check what I have written here. Input file with result, yes. Process each transcription segment must be sent to Stable Diffusion or DALI in 4 cycle to avoid API usage issues. That's fine. Output multiple URLs of generated images. Aha, that's a problem. Let's call it ID. HTTP request. Or not. Again, input file with the result, file with transcription. Output multiple URLs, which means I cannot use HTTP request because there is one big JSON, which must be split by slice element, array element. So it will be new block. I cannot reuse existing ones. So what should I do? I should make it generate images from transcription, or better, images request. It was text-to-speech request, and this one was transcription request. Ah, that's a problem. Generated video, that one is HTTP request. I need to update the schema. URL method description. There is no description here. So let me edit description. I'll explain why it's done. So description of the request. Because I think I already messed a few things in here. There is no explanation what this request does. So in this case, description will be useful. Open a request to get content, for request. For request, nice. Get text content of the video. Yes, that would be correct. In here, what property do we extract? Extract message from JSON response. In this, what do we send to Telegram? Send video content, send text video content, text for video, send text for approval. Now, description. Fetch approval from Telegram. That should be extensive. And this one is a place where I think I could have done a mistake. What kind of this HTTP request? It's a request text to speech for from text. That would be correct. And another, it's text to speech. This one would be transcription. That would be correct. Description. Request. Now that is correct, because I think I could have replaced this by this without understanding what's going on and why is it so. Because it's HTTP request, the same HTTP request. That could have been a mess, let's be honest. So after we acquired text-to-script transcription, which looks like quite big JSON, but what's important, that file itself contains multiple sentences which must be passed to image generation. But I cannot just make another HTTP request because that image generation itself has logic. It means I need to introduce new block. New block which has name image request description request images according transcription. Yes, that is correct. Now we have an input. That input defines a few important things. First of all, where should we go to request this image? There are a few ways. It's either HTTP endpoint or local GPU, but in the end it will be block or something. Let's keep it as easy as possible, and let's say there is some URL which will accept input. The problem of this particular block that it gets a list of things and it must produce a list of things. So it gets a file which must, let me show you. So it gets an array which looks like this. There are some numbers of, and here is a text. Let's call it segment. Hello. Another segment world, and another segment which says this, and another segment goodbye world. Okay, fine. So each of these things must be sent to AI model or whatever you have there in order to produce the same or less number of images. I think I have it in here in requirements. Let's check. Transcription, HTTP request, generate images according to transcription. Input text, yes, output array of URLs. So that is a case which I have. DALI yields me array of images, but I think somewhere before here, zip, I wanted to introduce a block named zipped, which can join multiple outputs from different blocks. For example, if this block has, let's call it 7 outputs or 6 outputs, and another block has 6 outputs with URLs, emg example.com. So zip will produce something like okay, Copilot. Sorry. Copilot has it magic. That's what I wanted to do. It's to assemble images and segments. But in this case, image request images according transcription. That's what I don't like. This module has one input and n outputs. Okay, let's keep it quite easy. Generate URL, then I think it's called HD parameters such as true or false. Let's call it true. It also requires authorization, so it must take a few parameters with headers. But this, it will be method. Maybe I should call it image request, and then I should not pass anything, but what kind of model. So this block itself will figure out what to do, just like here. There is detector. In this particular case, it detects if it can connect to internet. So in here, it might have its own custom detector to figure out if it connects to DALI itself. So I will call it DALI. Then I will pass some method. Because it will post, yes, it will be quite overloaded block, I think. And I don't like it already. I should rework it. Let's do the following. I have method named zip. Let's have another method named explode. Yeah, that would be a solution. So I have another method named explode block. That explode will simply produce array. Maybe it shouldn't produce array because we have this array. It's in output of this thing. Output of that thing is this. So maybe it shouldn't be explode. Let's call it for each. I don't like it already. So this for each method block description call block for each element in output from for each output from input. That's already complicated, but I think it can be resolved. Input. So what input do we have? First of all, blocks. It's an array. That will... I also don't like it because it will cause JSON schema to look like this. Block 1 with some definitions, block 2 with some definitions, block for each with some definitions. How was it? Yeah. The problem, each of these blocks might have another for. And this will be quite horrible experience, but in UI it might be easy. I mean, easier. The problem. What kind of problems except readability it yields? The parsing of input won't be that easy. Also, it can introduce another if block. Let's call it another block named condition. Condition, which will have its own input, which will have a condition true, and then another for each. It's a big problem. I don't like to introduce it. It will simply ruin everything. What to do with it? I know. I think I know. Each block has its output. Let me check. Yeah, here it is. Output. By default, it's a file. Location somewhere. What can I do? I think I've done it in a project I managed to write 6 years ago. It's too much input and output for each block. So I can produce HTTP request. Depending on its output, it's either possible to call next block or not. In this particular case, text-to-speech, it will be simple JSON. Where is that JSON? Crazy JSON. Here it is. It will be JSON, which input, text, and some properties. Here. What can I do with it? I can call extract property, and let's call it, how was it? Segments. Let's check if it will work. Extract segments from transcription. So after that, I have output, which is an array, and that array can work with input. How to call that input? Because I must apply. It will be easier. Yeah, for sure. Call for each. Yes, that will resolve all the problems, because with a block able to apply block to array, every block will have only one input. It will ignore array. So this will resolve a few. Call for each. Let's call block for list for each. Yeah, it will be better. Description. Call image generation. Call yes, for each segment. Transcription segment. Yes, in caps, because I might forget. And it has input. Because each block respects output of previous block, I don't need to pass anything because it will read the results of previous execution. And let's call it input block. And here I can say block generate ID, request image for text, description, an image for text in transcription segment. That's all, I think. So call block for each. No, not everything. So I'll close that. Block input. I'm missing input. Is it called? Oh yeah, input. Maybe I should not call it request image, but let's call it HTTP request. That is better, because in our particular case, it will be request to somewhere. In this case, it will be OpenAI. DALI, maybe image generation, method post, headers, whatever, body, query, model equal. I'm not sure about that, but it's possible that it in here, in URL itself, but we have body. And that body is a function. So I am passing input, so each block respects output from its predecessor, from its caller. In here we consume list. In here we should pass it to body. How to define that interface? Because if I do something like that, if I remove body, it's magic. I won't understand in 7 years what's going on, why it's absent, where is it. I don't like it. So it's possible that I need some placeholder in here. Yeah, that would be better. Body, and let's call it how to call that placeholder. Block each. And let's make it, yeah, placeholder, literal, each content, each placeholder. Yeah, that should not be an error. And let's make it a comment. Oh, here it is. Leave. This is placeholder for employee, how it was called, call block for each. Come on, for each element. That will resolve the problem. It will produce list of images. And now we'll proceed to another step, which is join. Yes, it will generate list of URLs. That's good. The next would be the same call block for each. But you know what? I think we can simplify it. Yes, we can simplify it. We can say, where was it? Okay, ID, HTTP request, HTTP request with their description input. Yes, that will be resolution. Download image from URL. That will be input. That input, it's a thing from output of previous iteration, but because of previous iteration is an array, we can define it here. That input itself is an array. That means this block will execute for each. So I don't need that. Yes, I don't need that, as well as this. I must simply that's what I need. So we have ID, description, input, and the body. Because of its array by default, I don't need this body as a body. I need it as a body type, or even better, I don't need it in input itself. Let's call it I'm afraid it's like input config. How to call it? It's like input config. And then I have it as type array property body. And in this case, I don't need to pass it as body. Come on. Body, whatever. Image. Image. I think input config might be a solution for this particular case, as well as a few other cases above, I mean. Show that input config will cast output from previous iteration to something and maybe pass it to input itself as something. that will solve problem with 4 iterations. And let me check if it will solve zip. To be honest, I'm not sure, because zip will be later. So let's keep it as input config. Also, I think it was somewhere else. There was extract property. Yeah. It can also move to input config. I don't need this extra step because it will have to download file from this block, generate new file to pass it here. But we can have it like preprocessor. Yes, let's do it. It was input property type array. I don't need type array. I need string, but that will mess a few things in block itself, because it might be file and null. Yes, that's a problem. Classic problem. Input config. What is this property? Why does it has name body? I mean, I should state the reason. Property. Maybe I should call it input property. And let's name it choices. 0 message. That can be solution. And output. Not output, but input. So this I don't need it. Input. No, let's keep it property. Property content, because this block will have something. Let's call it message. Yes, and this one, it shouldn't be called input property, it should be called extract from JSON, I think, extract path. It was called X. There was X path. Yeah, X path. That will be solution. X path is it's a thing where you can extract something from HTML or XML. It would be solution input config if path property message. So if we do not pass such a thing, let's say fetch a proof from Telegram. I have a proof suffix that is correct. Property message. In here it will be message. Here. Request text to speech from text. The problem. What text? In here I made an approval. Let me find it. Yeah, here. This is possible output from that bot, which means it also needs input config with path. Let's call it action, which has value approved. I need only approved, but in order to satisfy this, let's call it filter by value. How to do it? Oh, light, no. So that was an example. In my particular case, it equals approved. So XPath for extract structured data from structured file, that is solution to replace some unneeded blocks. In here, XPath was correct. In here, I extract only approved in order to pass them to where? Yes, fetch all. This will save everything, including declined. This one, extract only approved. Next, request text-to-speech transcription. Aha. So this is request text-to-speech from text. This yields binary file. But if it was empty, what should I do if it was empty? Also, yes, it's correct. So in here, I get one text. In here, I send this text for approval to some channel. If I'm declined, if I have declined it, it's not a big deal. So in this particular case, fetch approvals from Telegram. If there is fetch approval L. In here, send text for approval. Yes, it's one. Fetch approval from Telegram. Fetch approve. Fetch, not approve, but decision. Or approve. Moderation. Let's do it better. Moderation. Because these terms might call some situation. What ID? Moderation. Fetch moderation. Fetch from Telegram. That is correct. Approve suffix, no. Oops. Come on. Moderation, approve suffix resolves, but moderation suffix. That is correct. And then I must check if it's empty or if it's declined, then this pipeline has no need to proceed because I have declined it. I need new block. Let's call it block ID stop pipeline, which says description stop pipeline if condition if moderation declined. Yes, that would be correct, and it has input. Maybe I don't need an input here. I need input config, just like this. Okay, let's make it input. I'm still wondering what should be done in here. Input config. Condition. And in here, it will be action approved or not. Let me check. Where have I done that? Yeah. So if it's already too late, like 20 minutes, but not a problem. So if I have declined this particular block will yield input. Let's call it, I don't need to call anything because it will pass a message. Yes, this interface is looking better. It has only one input. Its input is a message. I mean, it's block. If it will stop this pipeline if there is nothing. Then request text to speech from text, which means I need to find what was moderated. Moderation had declined here, text. So let's copy it. If it was approved, action approved, then I need text property. Okay, it's already too late. I'll consider it on an extreme because right now there is a possible conflict of input configs and input themselves, but input config is a good thing because it will help me with arrays and the destination of these array elements in here. But I must to do a few small steps. Today is August 17. Let me scroll here. I haven't defined this. Define configuration. Yes, is. So next stream will be in Monday, August 19, and it's in 2 days. My plan would be to prepare a few blocks which are stop pipeline, because a few blocks already done, but it's not enough. Yes, it's only HTTP block for now. So I will prepare stop pipeline. Maybe I do better. Today I wanted to save this file. Let's do it with small steps, because if I do it in one step, it will be quite tough. I don't like to do it in one big chunk. And by the way, I think I had some tests. Tests unit. Yeah. There are tests for blocks, and I think test for an HTTP block. Yes, we're checking that detection was done. There are mocks, and I'm also checking that detection was failed. Validation of the schema, and if it's failed, there is no actual success or fail, which means I will need to integrate a few blocks, and then these small block tests will expand to functional tests, where I will check how those blocks work with each other, and only after that I can easily start writing code, because without interface it's just let's code, and then I spend a few more days trying to understand why it's not working. So that's the reason I have to define it in JSON. Yes, it's not perfect, but it will allow to solve how to merge this block with each other. So that's my plan for August 19. I must prepare a block named stop pipeline, And in config, it's one of the important parts. In config, and prepare a block, let's call it, prepare one block, and prepare implement. Input config tool support XPath. What else was there? XPath property, yes. And array. So I will have to think about it. XPath property. To pass to next to input with inside of input XPath, and what's important, erase. Implement array option to call block for each element in input in property. Yeah. So that's my plan to, I must have it in 2 days. That one is easy, but most important are these two, because these two, it's building blocks to make things in parallel. So it's like here, request an image. Sometimes APIs might limit you. DALL-E for sure limits parallel execution of image generation, but if I have segments and I need to do something in another block such as HTTP request, I might say if it's in parallel or consequent calls, that will also be a solution. By the way, let me do it here. Implement array and respect parallel or consequent parameter. Yeah, that's what I must have in Monday. So I'll stream and show you what is done. For now, what kind of problem I have? Well, let me show you in Firefox. Let's check if it has updated. No, there is only one worker alive. It's this particular machine, but I'm not happy with that, because when there were a few workers, I could have clicked and see what blocks it supports, what version it had. I was testing it, but nothing happened. What? Because I wanted to have another thing in here, such as second column inside of worker itself. We should show you the list of discovered workers, but maybe it's already too much, because these workers are coming from this. I'll think about later. Yes, so that's all for now. Thank you for watching. See you on Monday, and like, subscribe, and share if you want. Goodbye.